Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Have you eaten today? I ask not only about the food on your plate, but about the nourishment of your heart, your soul, and your connection with those around you. It is such a simple question, yet it carries with it so much meaning. When we ask someone, have you eaten? It is more than concern for their hunger. It is a question of care, of compassion, of community. Think for a moment about the countless people around us, our neighbors, our friends, even strangers, who might not have had a proper meal today. A simple act, a simple question can become a bridge of love and mercy. And often, my brothers and sisters, it is these small acts, these tiny gestures of kindness that create the greatest impact in our lives and the lives of others. So today, I want us to pause, to reflect, and to remember that while a question as simple as "have you eaten" may seem ordinary, it carries within it the extraordinary power of empathy, care, and humanity. When we speak to a gathering of people, whether it is a few friends, family, or a large audience, the very first words we offer set the tone for everything that follows. A warm greeting is more than just a formality, it is an invitation. It is a way of saying to those present, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I care about you. When we begin with warmth, we establish a bridge between the speaker and the listener, a connection that goes beyond mere words. This connection is not built on grandeur or eloquence alone, but on sincerity, on the simple act of being present with a heart that genuinely wishes to engage. It is like extending a hand, not just in the physical sense, but in spirit, offering comfort and reassurance that each person matters. A greeting that carries warmth creates an atmosphere of openness, where people feel safe to listen, reflect, and even share their own thoughts. The tone of the voice, the choice of words, the gentle pauses, and the natural rhythm of speech all contribute to this feeling of connection. When someone is greeted in such a manner, they are more likely to feel seen and valued, which prepares their hearts to receive the message with attentiveness and understanding. It is also important to remember that the warmth of a greeting can transcend social and cultural barriers. Even if people come from different backgrounds, speak different languages, or hold different experiences, a genuine smile, a soft tone, and words that speak to shared humanity can immediately dissolve distance. It reminds the listener that they are not alone, that someone cares enough to reach out in kindness. In this way, the greeting becomes a mirror of compassion, reflecting the value we place on one another. Moreover, when we greet people with warmth, it subtly encourages them to reciprocate that warmth, creating an environment where mutual respect and care flourish naturally. It signals that the interaction is not one-sided, that it is not about speaking at someone, but speaking with them in a manner that nurtures understanding and empathy. By beginning a speech with such genuine connection, the speaker gently invites the audience to lower their defenses, to open their hearts, and to prepare themselves to engage deeply with the topic, allowing the message that follows to resonate long after the words have been spoken. A question as simple as "have you eaten" carries within it layers of meaning far beyond the words themselves. On the surface, it seems ordinary, perhaps even mundane, something we might ask without thinking when we meet a friend or a neighbor. Yet when we pause and reflect, we realize that it is a question that embodies care, attention, and the essence of human connection. It is not merely about food. It is about presence, concern, and the recognition of another's well-being. Asking this question invites a moment of awareness, a pause to consider the needs of those around us. It reminds us that life is not just about our own struggles, our own comforts, and our own routines, but about the shared experiences of others and the simple ways in which we can touch their lives. In this question, there is a subtle call to empathy, asking us to look beyond the material and consider the emotional and spiritual nourishment that every human being requires. When someone responds whether they have eaten or not, it opens a doorway for deeper engagement, for genuine conversation, and for acts of kindness that might otherwise go unnoticed. The depth of this question lies in its ability to reveal what is often hidden: loneliness, hunger, struggle, or gratitude. It encourages mindfulness, asking us to slow down and recognize the blessings we have and the challenges others face. In a world that often moves too quickly, this simple inquiry becomes a moment of reflection, a gentle reminder that small gestures of care can have profound impacts. It is remarkable how a few words, spoken sincerely, can convey concern, spark compassion, and even foster a sense of community. By framing the question in such a way, it teaches us to notice, to listen, and to act in ways that are meaningful and thoughtful. It reminds us that the ordinary can carry extraordinary significance when delivered with intention and heart. The simplicity of the question allows it to be universal, crossing barriers of age, culture, and circumstance, touching every human being in a way that resonates deeply with their innate need for connection and care. It is in these moments that we realize how powerful the everyday expressions of concern can be, how a small question can awaken awareness, compassion, and a sense of shared humanity, transforming a brief exchange into an opportunity for kindness and reflection. When we speak to people, the power of imagery cannot be underestimated, for the mind responds to pictures as much as it does to words. Relatable imagery draws the listener into the moment, inviting them to see, feel, and experience the message in a way that touches their heart. When we speak of something as familiar as a meal, a plate of food, a shared table, or the aroma of bread baking, These simple images immediately connect with memory and emotion. They remind us of our own experiences of times when we gathered with family, friends, or neighbors, sharing food and stories, laughter and comfort. The strength of imagery lies in its universality. It transcends age, background, and circumstance, speaking directly to the human experience. When a speaker paints a vivid picture, it awakens the senses and the heart simultaneously. We can almost see the warmth of the meal, smell the food, feel the presence of loved ones around us, and taste the comfort of being cared for. Relatable imagery makes abstract ideas concrete, helping people understand deeper truths through what they already know and have felt. It allows the audience to step into the story, to imagine themselves in the scenario, and to connect personally with the message. For example, when we speak about someone who has not eaten, we might invite listeners to picture a neighbor sitting quietly, the pangs of hunger unnoticed by others, or a traveler arriving at a doorstep after a long journey, seeking nothing more than a moment of rest and sustenance. These images awaken empathy, compassion, and the desire to act. They remind us that our words carry the power to inspire reflection and transformation. The use of imagery also makes the message memorable. People remember stories and pictures far longer than abstract concepts or statistics. By painting relatable scenes, the speaker creates emotional resonance, making the audience feel the weight and beauty of the message in their own lives. The ordinary moments, the shared human experiences, when described with care and intention, become extraordinary, teaching us lessons about kindness, generosity, and awareness. It is through these pictures in our minds that we come to understand the depth of what it means to care, to notice, and to respond, seeing the world not only through our own eyes, but through the eyes of others, allowing the message to take root in our hearts and inspire meaningful reflection and action. A gentle reminder of responsibility is not meant to burden the heart, but to awaken a sense of awareness and compassion. When we consider the question, "Have you eaten?" we are reminded that life is not only about ourselves, about our comfort and ease, but also about the people around us, those whose needs may quietly go unnoticed. Responsibility begins in small, often overlooked moments, in the simple act of noticing someone's hunger, their struggle, or their lack of comfort. It is in these moments that our humanity is tested, and our capacity to respond with care is revealed. Responsibility is not always about grand gestures. It is about the quiet, sincere actions that ripple through the lives of others. When we are reminded gently, with warmth rather than judgment, we are more likely to respond with a willing heart rather than a reluctant one. There is a subtle power in being reminded softly, as it allows reflection rather than defensiveness. It encourages us to see the blessings in our own lives, the abundance that we may sometimes take for granted, and to consider how we can share even a small portion of that with others. Responsibility is intertwined with gratitude. When we recognize what we have, we are called to share, to uplift, and to serve. It is a call to empathy, asking us to step beyond our own concerns and to reach out to those whose needs intersect with our lives. This reminder also nurtures a sense of interconnectedness, teaching us that our actions, no matter how small, affect the wider community. When we feed someone, when we offer kindness, when we take a moment to care, we participate in a cycle of goodness that strengthens bonds and transforms lives. It is not about seeking recognition or reward, but about fulfilling the quiet duty we have toward one another as human beings. Through these gentle prompts, we begin to internalize that responsibility is not a burden to carry begrudgingly, but a privilege, an opportunity to make a tangible difference. The reminder encourages mindfulness, asking us to consider how our words, our actions, and even our presence can alleviate hardship and bring comfort. In nurturing this sense of responsibility, we cultivate a heart that is attentive, generous, and compassionate, ready to respond not only to hunger in the literal sense, but also to the hunger for care, connection, and understanding that exists in the hearts of those around us, inspiring us to live in a way that is meaningful and deeply connected to the well-being of others. The tone with which we speak carries as much meaning, if not more, than the words themselves. A warm, inviting tone reaches into the heart of the listener before the mind has even begun to process the message. It conveys sincerity, care, and openness, creating a sense of safety and receptivity in those who are listening. When a speaker adopts a gentle and welcoming tone, it is as though they are extending an embrace through their words, inviting the audience to engage not just intellectually but emotionally. This tone sets the stage for connection, allowing the listener to feel valued and understood. The warmth in one's voice signals patience and empathy, encouraging the audience to listen attentively, reflect deeply, and respond thoughtfully. It transforms the interaction from a mere transfer of information into a shared human experience, where the listener feels seen, respected, and cared for. An inviting tone also has the power to break down barriers. In any gathering, there are individuals who may feel hesitant, shy, or even skeptical. A soft, deliberate, and compassionate delivery can ease these reservations, creating an atmosphere of trust and openness. It encourages people to engage without fear of judgment and to allow the message to resonate within their hearts. Moreover, a warm tone communicates humility. It shows that the speaker is not speaking from a place of superiority but from a shared sense of humanity, standing alongside the listeners rather than above them. It subtly reminds the audience that the purpose of communication is not to impose, but to inspire, guide, and uplift. When discussing sensitive or meaningful topics such as care, kindness, or social responsibility, this tone becomes especially important. It ensures that the message is received with the intended compassion and reflection, rather than defensiveness or disinterest. In essence, the warmth of the speaker's voice acts as a bridge, connecting thought to feeling, intellect to heart. It transforms ordinary words into a medium of encouragement, understanding, and inspiration, inviting each listener to internalize the message and consider its relevance in their own lives. This tone is not simply about being gentle, it is about being intentional, conscious, and present, crafting every phrase and pause to nurture a sense of inclusion, empathy, and connection.